this notion that women are forced to perform all these markers of their subordination, it's just crazy. You know, she talks about the revealing of the body as a marker of subordination. But then later on, she also talks about the covering up of the body as a marker of subordination. Yep. You can't, you know, it's one of these unfalsifiable theories in which every single thing can be alleged to be a marker of subordination. It can never be proved to be so. And it doesn't exist. There are no workplaces where women are forced to wear makeup. Women willingly wear makeup. Most men are not even that interested in makeup. I've never had a boyfriend who said, gee, Janice, you should really wear a bit more makeup. In fact, my husband would prefer that I never wear any when I put on my lipstick, which I like because I think it makes me look better. He says, you know, oh, you know, you've got too much lipstick on again. You know, this is like these things are complicated, and they have to do with women's willing participation in gender norms for various deep-seated, you know, evolutionary biological reasons. And the fact that she can't even begin to comprehend or recognize these illustrates an alarming narrow-mindedness. And to think that this person was a professor of political studies. My God, what a waste of a taxpayer-funded position.
You know, it's really interesting too. Again, her worldview is that women eroticize their own oppression, and through all these, what she's alleging are really, truly involuntary participation in a multi-billion-dollar makeup industry and fashion industry and cosmetic surgery and all the lengths that women go to because it does bring them power in their lives. Yep. But what's really fascinating to me is I have to consider what would be the motivation. You got to wonder what motivates Sheila Jeffreys to even have this worldview, to practice this level of ignorance where everything is woman hating, no matter, you know, whether clothed, unclothed, no matter what. And it reeks to me of personal jealousy. And you see this, I think, a lot in male feminists. They're longing for women, for approval, for connection to women, gets acted out politically in a form of gender politics. And I think you see the same thing here. She is a lesbian feminist. She's attracted to women. And she sees a whole world of women working to make themselves attractive to men. And I think it bothers her. Yeah, I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
Yeah, I was thinking family of origin. You know, who knows what happened to her? You know,
probably that mixed in. I mean, I'm sure there's a cauldron of stuff going into making this particular witch, but part of it to me would be that the desire for sexual control over women, and it gets expressed as misogyny. She's the misogynistic one in this thing. Women doing what they want to do. Which is to acquire sexual power, bothers her. And she attacks them for it and attacks femininity for it. I don't think you have to look too hard.
No, I think you're probably right. What's going on. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the bad news. So we've gotten through the bad news first. Janice, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to finish that by saying, and with this, I mean, this is a warped worldview. This is a worldview. She's written books in which she claims that everything about heterosexual femininity is a social construct, and it's all about women accepting their subordination and trying to imagine that there's something good in their subordination. And she has actually called for all women to reject sexuality with men. She's a self-declared lesbian feminist in the sense that she says any woman who cares about other women must devote herself to women and must reject men, must refuse to be sexually involved with any man. Now, that is a very deeply, deeply hateful worldview. And all of her stuff now about, the trans agenda and drag and everything. I mean, she's dealing with homosexual men mostly who do drag anyway. And that doesn't quite fit into her schema, but it doesn't stop her. And she's now being accused of transphobia and everything else. But all of that is just really rooted in her deep hatred for men. And yet that has been allowed to counsel hundreds of impressionable female students, as well as male students, of course, but to counsel hundreds of female students and to tell them that their natural desire for men is totally a construct of their own oppression and should be rejected. She is likely responsible for the misery of hundreds of women who have tried to follow her prescriptions, and she's been allowed to preach that, not just from her personal position at home in front of a video camera, which I'm perfectly fine with, but from a university-funded position at the University of Melbourne, where she taught for decades. It's amazing to me that a petition was never got up, and I suspect it never was, to have her fired from that position, or at least prevented from preaching such hateful and deeply damaging doctrines. And yet I bet nobody ever said boo about it.
Correct. In contrast to the gentleman we're about to talk about, who did one little video, which was never even published, for the school, and they fired him. So let's have a look at this guy's video. We'll